Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the last Quantum Jumpstart of 2024. So wonderful to have you guys here with us. Always love getting to see each and every one of your beautiful faces. Welcome. If you have joined us before, welcome back. I am Sophia. I'll be your host this evening, and I'm joined by the wonderful Maria, who is a Dr. Joe meditation assist at his events. She is NCS certified, HeartMath certified, has been involved in Dr. Joe Dispenza's work for over 10 years and is a wealth of knowledge and always learning. We are just coming off of the 10-day extended retreat in Cancun. Maria and I are both still in Mexico, and so we are very fresh-minded in terms of the work. And I'll say I had the pleasure of sitting next to Maria all week and seeing her with her notepad, taking notes in every single lecture. So that's the woman that you're learning from and seeing from is somebody who is a continual student, who no matter how much she's learned, how many meditations she's done, how much knowledge she has soaked up in this world, she continues to evolve her experience. And that's why it's so wonderful to get to have her here for these sessions. We love getting to connect in community, to come together. If you're joining us for the first time, I'll kind of go over some initial logistics and then we will jump into things. So the way that we run these sessions is it's an open forum Q&A. We invite people to submit questions ahead of time if some of our audience isn't able to make it. And then we also take questions live on the call. So what we'll do is we'll have you raise your hand on Zoom. There's a react button in the bottom middle of your screen. The raise hand button at the very bottom in the middle under react. So if you have a question, if you want to raise your hand, and then we will answer them in the order of which they are received. And we'll alternate with one live question and one question that I'll read from Maria that were pre-submitted. And we'll do that for about 45 minutes, answer as many questions as we're able to get through this evening, and then we will jump into Dr. Joe's generating flow meditation to kind of round out the year to create some ease and levity and flow as we head into the holiday season. And I just kind of wanted to invite everybody tonight to use this as a reflection point. The year is coming to a close. We're about to start 2025. And while we don't need to be defined by time by any means, we can absolutely use it as a point to kind of reflect on everything that's happened over the past year and any intentions or pursuits that we have as we enter into this new year. So if you have any questions that are around that, around intention setting, or if you just want to keep something kind of in the back of your mind about something that you would like to embody, manifest, call in, I think that it's a really great opportunity to do so as we kind of get into this more introspective time of the year. So that's my kind of invitation before we get into things. And now I will kind of pass things over to Maria to get us started. And I'll read one of the pre-submitted questions for us to kick it off. So the first one that we have is, I am creating several things in my life, but I am not getting a lot of feedback. I have really great meditations, but then struggle to stay in my heart throughout the day. In fact, I often struggle to open my heart even during the meditations. I have realized it is because I do not truly believe that my future is possible. I get stuck wondering what meditation I should do. I'll sometimes focus on doing changing beliefs and perceptions. Other times, I realize opening my heart is the most important thing, so I'll do tuning in with your heart. And I do the walking meditations 4 to 5 times a week. How do I maintain the feelings of my future throughout the day? How do I trust the universe all the time? Because when I do, it's incredible and I feel like I am invincible. Thank you so much.
I think this is a great question to start this session today. And I hear very important points. For example, wanting to create several things. I think we all here, we have a big bucket list of wishes and of challenges. And I also hear that some emotions that kind of look like they're getting in the way between where we are and where the fulfillment of our desires and our wishes reside. So with that, what I always recommend is before getting into creation, we really need to become aware of where we are standing as a personality. What are our thoughts? Meaning starting to observe the thoughts, because thoughts are just the language of the brain. Thoughts are just thoughts. But then for every thought that we have, there is always an emotion that follows. And in that process of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking, if we think in the same way, we are highly probably going to make the same choices. And those same choices are going to lead us to the same actions, the same behaviors, and those actions and behaviors are going to produce the same experiences. So when I'm hearing that during the day, I struggle with how I feel and then with the disbelief about my dreams. So it's like we are practicing feeling separate from what we want. And then we believe less in that. So it is a matter of trust. It is a matter of actually finding some sense of or creating a new experience just by thought alone. Now, back to the step by step, I think it's very important to become aware of those emotions. Like if you see that you have a lack of trust, then what is it that you have instead of trust? Probably fear, insecurity, you want to control. And everybody suffers from wanting to control. Because as human beings, when we are under the hormones of stress, we are always trying to control. So if we have that, then meditating more, getting our body to settle down, putting our attention on the heart, and staying as as long as we can, because the longer we stay in that place where the heart starts getting relaxed, starts getting into coherence, we are resetting the baseline for stress, for trauma, for all these emotional reactions. And when the heart gets into a more coherent state, then it's going to send a signal to the brain, telling the brain it is safe now to create. So now the chatter in the mind is going to slow down, and then there's going to be a new voice. But that voice is the awakening of the architect in the brain, is the awakening of the creator in our brain. So the thoughts are going to respond to that new biochemistry. And then once the emotions that come from stress slow down, biochemically speaking, in the body, then we can start thinking about what we want to create. Now, you and I, Sophia, we were in Cancun this past 10 days. And I think this time, I always say this, but we know that even sometimes we feel that we hear information in a different way, because we are getting into a different level of mind. So when we feel stuck at doing this work, when we feel that nothing outside of us is changing, this is the moment to remember, or this is the moment to access new information. And there's a plethora of information, from Dr. Joe's books, from online courses, even from the explanations to every meditation that you find in the official website. It always has an intro, a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute intro. And it's like a mini class for the meditation. I found those so rich to remember, to actually bring more meaning to what we are doing, so that the how becomes way more easy and we are way more intentional. So in that, what I would like to say to finish this specific question is, we don't have to go there finding what we are looking for. We don't have to, I think it's like actually tuning just as a thought into the frequency of that thing that we want. Let's say health. If I want more health in my life, once I am aware of the emotions that I live by, and I'm very conscious of what I'm going to stop thinking, acting, and feeling every day, then I'm just going to tune into the frequency of health, or tune into the frequency of freedom. And if I raise my energy just by meditating, just by getting into coherence and slowing down the thinking and focusing on nothing, then as a thought, I tune into that frequency and I practice staying there. When we tune into a higher frequency, we are accessing more possibilities and the information is there, available to us. We don't have to figure it out. It's just there and it's going to start coming to us. So I think that those kind of two steps are the like the big foundations when it is about creating what we want and what we are and moving out of what we consider a challenge in our lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So next we'll go to a live question if anyone on the call wants to raise your hand. Tina, do you want to come off of mute?
Hang on. Are we good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, this one's a little bit uncomfortable, so I don't want to sort of bypass anything. But I've had an interesting experience over the last 3 weeks, which is going into it was like I was going into really beautiful, deep, extremely long meditations. And then, like out of the blue, I started I had very difficult to deal with imagery coming at me. It, suppressed traumas or extreme weather events that you might have been trapped in, that kind of thing. And they just came like at me so quickly to the point where it pulled me right out of the meditation. But I was scared for several days to go back in. And it took quite a bit of time to trust, but I just find that I'm not at that wonderful level I was at before, because there is that sense of fear that is creating an interference. And yeah, so I mean, you're going to have people that come through that will be confronted with these things from time to time. So I'm just curious about sort of strategies of working with a meditation when you are confronted with these things by surprise. Like it's
Thank you, Tina.
difficult. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead. It is difficult.
I mean, it could, I don't want to make it I don't want to make it a bummer because it's the end of season, but it was just something that I had noticed. Like I had spoken to somebody else about it, a professional, but I thought I'd sort of bring this up in this community because it was meditations from this community that I was doing. And these are deep ones that were like body electric and deeper. So it was over an hour into it.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I think it's a great question. I have experienced that too, and I have heard that in many of the people in our community. So this work, this is a mind-body kind of work. This is not only about thinking positive. We have to involve the body in this process of change. And when you start meditating, you start moving the energy in your body. And I compare it to a yoga class or to a physical exercise. When you start working, then what is inside the body starts getting out. So when you do a very strong workout, the next day you are sore. You feel that, you feel that pain in the muscle. So it is, for me, is the stress that we have inside kind of comes to the surface. And I think, just as a student of this work, I think that it happens exactly in this same way when we meditate and when these images start coming out. The good thing about that, Tina, is that they are not staying inside. They're coming to the surface, and now you're able to observe them. And my invitation to you would be, and you are actually observing that there is fear, but you don't have to own that fear. You can just observe the fear. Because when you become the observer, you are no longer the program. And you can be curious about, oh my God, look at this image. And I feel the fear that is coming out. And in a way, to me, it says that you are doing the job, that you're doing the work. And and you're clearing that. You're purging your body from those emotions through images and by moving the energy regularly. And I would just show up the next day and the next day, because if you continue raising your energy, probably the images that you will start seeing are images that bring you emotions that actually renew your system and make you feel more excited, and maybe emotions like love, like appreciation. And you can see when you observe things that in your life, that create some fear, but all of a sudden they create compassion, you would be, oh my God, there's something inside of me that is changing. And it would be a very, very, very good evidence of your effort. And you can call it a little victory. And that's what we live for, those little victories, those evidences that show us that we are somehow moving forward.
Thank you. I didn't want to throw something so difficult in, but I couldn't avoid it either. And I backed up a little bit just because it was so strong. But I know it is part of the work, but I just wanted to get your take on it within the community. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tina. So next up, we'll read another one that was pre-submitted. So this one says, after dealing with loss and heartbreak, fear became my lowest emotion. I work on changing that habit constantly, but a beautiful thing happened while doing the work. My cat, who had an autoimmune anemia, is in full remission and medication-free. All thanks to doing the work and to the beautiful people from one of the Coherence healing groups who helped so much in his recovery. This means so much to me. This is a miracle. I needed it badly in my life. But little pings of fear keep getting into my consciousness that he will get sick again or something else will show up after a year of serious medications. How do people who got healed put that kind of fear behind them? Does having fear mean we are still in the healing process? I also worry that my fear will be the thing that will bring trouble in. Every time I get that fear, I see the symbol for this health, send the signal out, and try to change the habit of seeing the worst case scenario. But yet I am fearful. How do I go about that?
Okay, another great question. Fear, the emotion of fear is probably one of the lowest in terms of energy or vibration. But you just have to be human to feel fear. And this work, and we have always addressed this work is not about getting healed, or this work is not about healing our cat. This work is about us changing from within. And that change means if we now are aware that we live by these emotions like fear, then the work, the daily work, is on actually raising the energy and addressing that fear and clearing the body from fear. Fear lives in the first 3 energy centers in our body. So there's all these great meditations where you can actually, and we have done this. This was one of our programs, was it last year, Sophia, when we introduced the Inspire, the breath. When we do the breath in the way that Dr. Joe teaches it in the week-longs, we are actually pulling the energy and the emotions that are stored in our first 3 energy centers. Fear is one of those. So working daily on that, sooner or later, is going to free the body from fear. And the good thing for me about that is fear will always come. We only have to be human to feel free and to feel fear. But as long as we start mastering that emotion, is not that we are not going to feel it again. It is about being able to observe it and then shortening the reaction that we have to that thing, to that person, to that situation when we are triggered and when we feel fear. And that is a never-ending journey, is a never-ending process. We will always be exposed or subject to fear, but it is more actually standing in a place of, okay, I see a lot of fear here. What would a master do in front of this? Let me practice. This is a great opportunity to practice and to master fear. So that's how I would say it. And we see many remissions, many healings in this community. And we also see how people get better and then they start getting worse. So it's really not about healing. It is about changing. And in this changing process we are always becoming someone else in the process. And I think that is the beauty of it, is about who we become when we decide to take this path of self-transformation by changing from the inside out. That's what I would say.
What I'm hearing you say, Maria, too, that I love and I really relate to with my own experiences, that it's not that the difficult experiences or emotions won't come up, but it's that when they come up, using that as an opportunity to further our growth in those moments. It's really powerful.
Exactly. There is an innate capacity and calling for us as human beings to evolve. And we change when we are challenged. So that evolution, that mastery is something that, knowing that it comes from within us, is something that nobody can take away from us. And it's a very good excuse, is a very good reason for us to fall in love more with ourselves and to fall in love even more with our life. And I think that is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves and as a consequence to the people around us.
Thank you. So up next, let's go to Raj, if you want to come off of mute.
Hi, thank you. My wife, Pallavi, and I were both at Cancun as well, just got home last night.
Okay, Raj.
It was a wonderful experience. One logistical question, I couldn't figure out how to pre-submit questions, so I didn't find it in your email or so. Can you clarify that for me offline? Doesn't have to be online.
Yeah, I can jump in with that one. So we will send out an email beforehand. We send out a few, but we send out a specific email that says pre-submit your questions to have them answered if you RSVP'd. So I would search for that in your inbox. If you're not seeing in your inbox, it potentially could have gone to spam. So that could be what's happening, but you're always welcome to reach out to me too if you want the link in the future.
Okay. Now the question about the practice. So I thought about this during the changing boxes meditation, but it may apply to other forms of meditation too. Is it more efficient to sort of think about changing boxes, small steps at a time, the series of small changes, or think about a large change at once?
Do you have, Raj, an example of a small change and of a big change that you would like to share?
Nothing is coming up right away. Actually, there are some things, but they're very personal, so can't really share in this group. But I'll think about some other examples to share. Okay.
But while you think, what comes to my mind is probably a big change involves many layers of beliefs and of emotions, and probably habits, and probably even addictions to thoughts or to behaviors. So it's like a big box. But if we take that big box and we deconstruct it into small pieces, meaning, let's say for next week, I'm going to focus on just this emotion and this belief. Is this thought that I've been having since I was a little boy. And I know that I've been living by this same emotion because of this specific thought. So that is a little box. And let me work on that box for these next few days. And then we go to the next one, and then let me go to the next one. But it's like you're working in the same big box, but you're going probably by smaller mini boxes. For those of you that are listening that are not familiar with boxes meditation, I think it's one of the most practical and pragmatic meditations and teachings of Dr. Joe's work, because it is about when you have something in your life, when you have an event in your life or a challenge that you're facing and that seems impossible. So doing the boxes meditation is a great opportunity to address that. Why? Because we cannot, a few principles here, we cannot think greater than how we feel. So when we have a problem, when we have a challenge, an issue, and when there's this person that is driving us crazy, we cannot see we cannot find any other way out but just by fighting that situation, that person, that problem, that challenge. So the other principle in the boxes meditation is I need to get into another level of consciousness. I need to move to another box, and the walls of this box are my thoughts, my actions, my behaviors, my emotions. And then I need to get into a new box where I see things differently, where I can actually have a choice of reacting in a different way. And even that new box, in that new box, this problem no longer exists. So it's moving from one point of consciousness to another point of consciousness. In this other point of consciousness, the problem no longer exists. What happened? I don't know. So it's playing a little bit with the principles of quantum physics, where we are aware of where we are here and we recreate our experience of being in this other reality where the problem no longer exists. In the moment I think about that challenge and I feel the same, in your gut, the same constraint or the same tension, I'm back in the old box. So it is about teaching and reconditioning our body and our mind into spending more time into that new box every day and falling in love with that new box. So to you, Raj, I don't know if I'm answering your question, and I hope that I'm giving everyone else here a hint of what this boxes meditation is about.
Helpful. Essentially, you're saying it's not that different. A big boxes is a lot of small boxes inside a big box. So, okay, get it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, up next, want to go to another pre-submitted question. So this one says, it's been a challenge coming back from a week-long retreat back into normal life with relationships, work that's not fully satisfying, a society focused on material, external stuff, etc. I've had 3 weeks of being unwell after a Marco Island retreat, and I feel like I'm coming back into the world. I'm wondering how I can receive more signs and messages of the path I need to take right now with work, relationships, and life in general. I meditate 1 to 3 hours a day and do lots of nature walks. I feel that spirit I felt during the retreat is much quieter now. How do I reconnect to receive more? Thank you.
How do I reconnect? I think that is probably one of the reasons why we always want to go back to a Dr. Joe event to continue evolving our experience. Now, a few important things here. Our environment is always one of the biggest barriers for change. And our environment, I'm talking about the people in our lives, the place or the places where we go, where we live, the situations, the objects, the things, because everything in our environment lives in our brain as a memory. That person is part of my environment because I have experienced that person in some way. Just one example of that. So when we go back to our environment, there's they're living in their own worlds. And I believe that's when actually applying this work is when it matters the most. Because now you know how you're triggered by your environment, but before you didn't know. But now that you know, then you can actually practice what you learn in that perfect ballroom surrounded by those amazing people, dancing and loving each other and hugging each other and feeling gratitude during more than 35 hours that they were seated meditating. And this is the real moment. This is when you got to practice what you learn. And in that practice is actually becoming the example, is not reacting in the way that they are expecting you to react. Is in the moment that you feel triggered, as we were talking with Tina, I guess, it is really about mastering that let's say those emotions and practicing feeling those other emotions. It is about remembering the feelings that you had in Marco Island. What were those emotions about? And what sparked those emotions? Let me sit here and remember those. So it is talking a little bit about boxes again. It is going back to the think box, like an elite athlete, and saying, okay, this is where I am. And I'm going to rehearse how I'm going to think, act, behave, feel on my day-to-day basis. I know today I have this meeting with these people, and I know how this meeting always goes. But you know what? I'm going to show up differently, totally different, and let me play with it. So it's going against our default. So rather than being a bad thing to go back into our lives, I think it's a great, great way to practice what we learn. And another thing that I would like to say, Sophia, about, okay, we may start losing, we may forget. Why? Because it's way easier to forget than to remember, because we are creating a new identity. We are becoming someone new. But that is like a very young tree versus this old sequoia tree, which roots have been growing with all these emotions related to survival. So it is, we know it's a very young person, but we need to energize that future us. How? Putting our attention there. How? Practicing what we like to feel, practicing how we like to behave, what honors our purpose, what honors that vision that we have of who we are discovering that we are. We are here actually unfolding into a higher, greater version of us. That's what we do. And that is a never-ending process. And the more we put our attention there and we stand on those shoes, we wear those clothes, then we're going to become more of that and less of who we used to be. And that is a fascinating process to me. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Next up, let's go to Carmen.
Hi,
Hello, Carmen.
how are you?
Great.
Okay, my question, all those things you said to practice, I mean, for me, mostly more than, and not that I don't react to other people, because yes, I do, of course, but more than to other people is to my own body, food, and fears around that. And then when there's, like just right before the call, I was in a lot of pain. And right in, like, of course, the third center. And it's very difficult to widen or to feel anything other than the pain. Like, I don't know how to go. I don't feel able yet at all to go into the void when there's so much pain. Most of the time I just end up saying, all I can feel is pain. All I can feel is angry about my pain, and angry that I react to food so more, that my body wants to react to food. Like, I can sometimes eat the same thing twice and one time be just fine. and the next time in horrible pain. So, you know, there's that fear in there, and I see it, and I see all these things, and I just get so overwhelmed. And when there's so much pain, it's very difficult to expand. Sometimes what I use, I don't know if I should, I may be talking too much, is like a kind of a distraction. I start watching TV, and then I can focus out. Like I'm watching the TV and focusing on loving my body, and then I can focus out because I'm not so much feeling the pain anymore because I'm also watching TV. Or like right now, listening to you, I was able to expand more, and I don't feel the pain as bad anymore. So I don't, you know, so my question is, how do I deal with that? How do I, you know, again, am I doing it wrong by having kind of a distraction sometimes?
Well, you're bringing a great point, Carmen, and thank you for your honesty in this personal and challenging experience. So I said that one of the greatest barriers for change is our environment. The second one is our body. And our body can become very loud. Now, there is a part in our brain which takes 40% of the entire brain, and that is the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe has three functions. One, it is the creative center. Second, it is the center where we set up intentions. So it's very important. And if we don't use it, we lose it. And then the third function of the frontal lobe is it lowers the volume of whatever is happening outside of us, meaning in our environment, in our body, or when we talk about time. So with that, this is what I would recommend, Carmen. First of all, when you say, I can notice when I start watching TV and focusing on loving my body, that it's kind of the volume of the body kind of goes down, meaning your attention is on Netflix and your attention is not on your body. But when our attention is on some specific thing, our body or a problem, it kind of gets bigger, because where you put your attention is where you put your energy. So actually practicing falling in love with your body, even watching Netflix, I would say it's okay. Now, during your meditations, if you can bring a very clear intention, we were talking with Raj, let's go with little intentions, not the intention of healing the body. That sounds like a big one. But what if you can hold the intention of asking your body to stay still for, let's say, 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, you know, start with little chunks of time, and then seeing how you can bring the intention of going a little bit further. And you can even develop a relationship with your body where you talk to your body. When we are learning how to open our hearts, knowing that nobody can open your heart but you, and actually you start developing a relationship with your heart, what if you can do that with your body? Like, hey, I'm going to give you what you need. I'm going to take care of you. But right now, I am the mind. And you're going to sit and you're going to stay still for this amount of time. And
Okay.
just start going.
Sometimes I can do that for a long time until it calms down. And then sometimes it stays calm and it's happy. And a lot of times, though, I'm in there a long while, maybe hours sometimes. Now I can do that once in a while.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it just comes right back all the way to 100 or 200. And that's when I'm like, okay, time to just scroll on Facebook because I can't do it anymore. You know, watch silly videos or cooking shows, which is mostly.
Right. Now, when we talk about meditations, blessing of the energy centers, to me, they are the best meditations for healing the body, because we are putting our attention on each energy center and raising the energy of each energy center. And when you do that, each energy center has an influence on each cell, each molecule, each tissue and organ around that energy center. So it's not only by being able to lengthen the time where your body allows you to go deep into the void, but it's also about changing the biology, changing the chemistry in your body as you stay in that elevated state, even if it's for just a few minutes. But to me, Carmen, is about showing up every day and being very intentional on what you're doing, and just knowing that this is that a healthy version of your body exists. You just got to get there.
Yeah. And then the foods, like, because I don't want to go back to paying attention. Do I eat this? Do I eat that? You know, it just feels so overwhelming. Like, stop eating this, don't eat this, don't eat gluten, don't eat dairy, don't eat, you know. Do I listen to that part, or do I just try to eat anything like what I feel like eating that moment?
What happens when you eat what you think you cannot eat because it's not good for you?
Sometimes it feels just fine, and then other times it hurts like hell. So it's like literal a roller coaster, but that's just, I'm taking a lot of time. So thank you so much. What you have told me, it's amazing. That will help a lot.
Okay. And one thing before we finish, Carmen, there is we need to take our bodies into balance in order to change it. That is something gradual. So probably the problem with the food is more, and this is as a student again, is more about how you react to the food. So what are the emotions that you feel around the food? So maybe it is working on those emotions. Then we take care of the food. And there are many stories of transformation, which actually they're a very good source for you to entertain yourself, watching how other people have changed their lives, people just like you. So I think that is a good entertaining that you could address, and at the same time it gives you like the motivation to say, okay, it is not the food, it is not the pain. I need to work right now on this emotion, on feeling bad about some indulgence for me. I don't know, whatever that is. You know, it's addressing the basics in your own reality, in your own thoughts and in your own emotions. Starting with that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Carmen.
Thank you, Carmen. Next up, let's go to another live one, since I see we have a few hands raised. Sandra, if you want to come up next.
Yes, well, it's a little question. I had a spinal surgery this year, and since then I have been doing my meditation lying on my bed, and I have not been able to have a deep meditation because I fall asleep in between. So I until I can go back to sitting, if you can tell me what position to take for meditation, or it's okay, it's no problem if I fall asleep.
Well, from my personal experience, I believe that what matters is if you can manage to start doing this work again, even for a few minutes every day, but just making sure that you show up every day, I think that's what really matters. And because when you do that, you are working on you first, and then you go for the day. And then the next step for me would be, how can you practice getting into staying in a good state, even when you are not meditating? Meaning kind of making that intentional state of more coherence, more balance, even outside of your meditation. If the body, like we were discussing with Carmen, if the body is so loud that it doesn't allow you to actually sit, I would just lay down. But then the next part would be, when in the day I can meditate laying down and staying awake. You can even put a small pillow under your knees so that you are kind of comfortable, but not that comfortable, you know? And, you know, our brain waves change very quickly in 2 moments during the day. In the early morning, because we go from this deep, deep, low brainwave state, delta, from delta to theta, from theta to alpha, and from alpha to beta. And now we are awake. And then at night, we go from beta to alpha, from alpha to theta, and from theta to delta. So in those 2 moments, that's when that door to our subconscious mind opens. And that's when we can get in and reprogram ourselves. We just need to pick the one where we know that we are more awake and with our heart in a relaxed state as we manage to get there. Does this make sense, Sandra?
Yes, it makes sense because well, now I am able to be like this. I am sitting. I am comfortable, but I think that really when you start to talk, I feel inside that I don't know. I forgot the name in English. I
Say it
have
in
been
Spanish.
he entendido que es flojera, o sea, has empezado a hablar y me he dado cuenta que es flojera de estar cómoda, ¿no? De estar cómoda y no volver, pero creo que lo puedo hacer. I think that I can do my meditation in sitting in my chair. I have a special chair for my meditation because of this. What is the name of flojo in English?
Laziness. So Sandra
Lazy.
is saying that she just realized that there's some laziness in the body.
Yes, it has been very like this. Lazy. Yes. Thank you very much.
And I feel that I feel the same. And I believe one important thing, but that takes intention, a very clear intention of waking up and getting out of bed. Just getting out of bed. And probably the day before, leave a chair, a blanket, or some warm socks, anything you need, but just for you to have that space where you're gonna sit and you're gonna go all in. And just showing up.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sandra. Thank you for your question.
Wonderful. And I want to be cognizant of time, but I also would love to get to at least one more question. So, Braith, if you want to come up as our last question tonight, and then I will share Maria and I's emails in the chat. So if we didn't get to your questions, David and Cynthia, you can send us an email and we'll make sure it's answered.
Hey guys, I want to ask you a technical question. When I first started doing Joe's work, I was exposed to him on Gaia, and he had all of his graphics and didn't differentiate between 6 and 7. When I've gotten deeper into his work and at the AFUs, you know, he does a lot of work with 6, with the moving of the energy into 6. I find it very difficult to differentiate between 6 and 7. I get a very, even when I'm focusing on 6, I get a very strong sense of openness through what is the third eye on my forehead. I kind of have the sense of 6, but all the work that I've ever done prior to Joe as well, there was never a differentiation between 6 and 7. It was always 7. So I find sometimes very hard to stay in 6, even when he talks about being in the chamber and turning around and looking at the walls. I can do that intellectually, but I don't think I'm emotionally there. How do you pull the two apart? I mean, I find it very hard to pull the two apart in the advanced work that he does.
Thank you, Braid. May I ask you a question?
You may.
So what is your intention around doing this work?
Mystical experience.
Mystical.
Yeah.
So you're going for the mystical.
I'm going for the mystical.
Okay. Okay. So the 6th energy center is where the pineal gland is. So when you focus on 6th, you're activating the pineal gland. You're putting your attention on the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland, it works when it's activated. It becomes the antenna that connects us to the quantum field. So when you connect to the quantum field and you are very coherent, you have a very coherent heart and a very relaxed brain, then you're sending a very clear signal, and then you are downloading information in the form of images. So when you are getting deep and you start seeing images, even with your eyes closed, that's your pineal gland working. Make sense? Okay, now the 7th is the pituitary gland, which is also known as the master gland. So the pituitary gland, Dr. Joe has been lately talking more and more about that gland and bringing it more and more into meditations since he started taking us into producing more chemicals, molecules, because that is the function of the pituitary gland. And then there is a molecule for the mystical too. And if you just hold the intention, you don't need to know the compounds, how many oxygen molecules and how many carbon. You don't need to know anything about that, because for sure, one of the greatest, I believe, findings around this work is about this innate, unlimited intelligence of our body, meaning we don't need to know, but our autonomic nervous system knows. And you just need to give a very clear instruction, and then your brain is going to start releasing the chemicals with that upgraded energy, with that upgraded information, with those upgraded molecules to create the mystical. Now, chasing the mystical, that is another thing. And I have been looking for it during many days and months. And it has happened in the moment I least expect. In the moment I forget about which molecule, which gland, is it 6, is it 7? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? It is actually in the moment that I least expect. It's in the moment that I am more relaxed. It's in the moment where I say, you know what? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm just going to show up tomorrow. And that's when the mystical happens. And I believe it is a great experience to have a mystical one. And it's also part of this knowingness that the mystical is so unknown, is so unpredictable. And actually, knowing that when you let go of the expectations, that's when the unexpected is going to happen. And I think that, little treat for me is one of the greatest teachers in my own life, because it reminds me whenever I want some situation to turn out in some specific way, when I want something in my life and it doesn't happen, it reminds me, okay, this is the same as with the mystical. I'm just going to let go of that expectation and allow the space for the unexpected to happen.
So I've had the mystical, it happens in 4 and 7, but I kind of always look for it in 6 because I kind of think that's where he's telling us to go. But 7 and 4 for me, in a good way.
if the 7th is activated, it means the 6th is activated. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ray.
What a great question to end on, right as we go into our meditation.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all so much for your wonderful questions tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are going to move into Dr. Joe's generating flow now. So if you want to get comfortable, turn your cameras off, grab your blindfolds. We'll give you guys a minute or so to get situated, and then we'll get into it.
Can I say a little tip, Sophia, that I actually learned from you in this last event that has made a whole difference during my meditations?
Please.
So I always struggle with thoughts that come and go and come and go, and I'm trying to slow down my brain, my thinking brain, but at the same time I'm putting my attention on the air coming in and out, and then, oh my God, I need to get my heart into coherence. How am I going to do all of that if I am with this thought and with this other thought? So you taught me, what if we start putting our attention on, let's say, our heart? We start with that. But we also put our attention, we kind of go from this narrow focus on the heart to this broader focus on the energy around the heart. And then I have been starting to put my attention on the energy around my body. So it's going from this narrow focus on the thought to this open focus on the energy around my body. And as I do that, I know that my brain waves start slowing down. So I have less thoughts to fight with. And that has made a whole difference. So I wanted to share that. And maybe you all would like to just practice this a little bit, from this narrow focus to this open focus. And let's see how it goes.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so excited to try it out.
Okay.
Awesome, everybody. So
let's do this.
let's get into the meditation. We will see you guys on the other side.
Eyes closed. Take a breath. For love into your heart. And exhale. And relax. Into your heart. Feel it. Notice it. Your heart. And breathe a little love into your heart. and exhale. And relax. Into your heart. And breathe in for love. Into your heart. And exhale. And relax. And let a little more love into your heart. And breathe for love into your heart. And exhale. And relax. And let love into your heart. And let the thought someone you love bring up the feeling of love. In your heart. Feel it. Hold them in that feeling. In your heart. Hold them in your heart. Feel it. Now put their heart in your heart. And feel your love for them. In your heart. That's your love. You're giving them. In their heart. Feel it. That's energy. In your heart. That's energy in their heart. That's your energy. In their heart. That's love. Your love. In their heart. That's love. In your heart. Feel it. Experience it. Enjoy it. That's the love you want them to feel. In their heart. Feel it. In your heart. Feel your connection to them. In your heart. One heart. That's love. In one heart. Feel it. And become one. In your heart. That's love. Your love. For their heart. That's your love. In your heart. Feel it. In your heart. That's energy. In your heart. That's a little more oneness. In your heart. That's your connection. To love. In your heart. That's the feeling. You want people you love to feel in their heart. And remember, this feeling know it by heart. That's life. In your heart. Who do you want to be? When you open your eyes. In your heart. Feel it. Your heart. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And come back to the realm of space and time. Remember, there's love in your heart.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the meditation. And thank you guys so much for joining us for the last Quantum Jumpstart Q&A of 2024. Maria and I have come to enjoy these sessions with you all so much, and it's amazing to kind of get these opportunities to connect and to deepen understanding of the work and hear what's coming up in the community, because so much of it is stuff that comes up for all of us. So it's really great to have you all here. We have plans to continue these sessions in 2025, and I hope you'll join us for those. And as far as that goes, we just are wrapping up the year here at Give to Give. We had an amazing learning session last month where we went over all of our program impact in 2024. So that's available on our YouTube channel if you want to check out that session and see kind of the impact and mission that we have to bring this work and work like it to people in need. I also wanted to share, if you feel called to support our mission, we're a community-powered nonprofit, so we're supported and able to bring this work to the people that need it, thanks to many people in this community. So I shared the donation link on our website in the chat as well. Thank you all again for being here. Thank you, Maria, for your expertise and your knowledge and your guidance. It is such a privilege and a blessing to be on this journey together. And from my heart to yours, wishing you each a wonderful holiday season and end to 2024. We will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Happy holidays. Love you all.